Ever notice how they only start missing you when you're no longer around? One moment, you're right there, present, consistent, and somehow they treat you like background noise. But the moment you fall silent, the moment you walk away, suddenly you're all they can think about. Why? Why does pulling away trigger something in them? Something they didn't seem to feel when you were giving them everything. How can distance, silence, and restraint speak louder than words? Today, we're uncovering the Stoic truth behind this emotional shift, why your absence creates more impact than your presence ever did. But first, let's get one thing straight. This isn't about mind games. It's not about playing hard to get or being petty. It's about discipline, self-respect, and letting someone feel what life is like without the version of you they once took for granted. In this video, I'm breaking down 7 brutally honest Stoic reasons why people often come running back after you pull away. And trust me, once you understand these principles, you won't just change how you view relationships, you'll change how you view yourself. But before we dive into those 7 reasons, I need you to hear this loud and clear. This journey isn't really about them. It's about you. Too often, we fall into the trap of waiting, hoping they'll text, that they'll come to their senses, that they'll suddenly appreciate what they once had. But that's not Stoicism. That's surrendering your power. When you step back, it shouldn't be to manipulate someone into valuing you. It should be to reclaim yourself, to stop pouring into someone who left you empty, to stop chasing approval and start investing in your own growth. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you've been the one carrying the connection for far too long. You're always reaching out, always forgiving, always the one trying to make it work. But let me tell you something Stoics knew centuries ago. Every time you chase someone who doesn't see your worth, you quietly abandon your own. That ends today. Because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why pulling away works. You'll know how to do it confidently, calmly, and without bitterness. You'll feel stronger, sharper, and finally in control. And here's what makes Stoic philosophy so powerful. It doesn't ask you to stop feeling. It teaches you to stop reacting. You can't control who values you. You can't force them to wake up and realize what they've lost, but you can control where your energy flows. And when you stop giving that energy to someone who doesn't deserve it, when you channel it back into yourself, that's when the shift begins. That's when they start to notice. Because for the first time, you've stopped needing their attention to feel complete. So if you're ready to stand in that power, if you're ready to stop chasing and start evolving, then let's get into the 7 Stoic reasons why they come back after you walk away. Reason 1, the shock of your growth. Let's be real. People get comfortable. In relationships, in friendships, in family, they start thinking they've got you figured out. Predictable, always available, always giving. But when you change the pattern, when you pull away and start building in silence, it shakes them to the core. Imagine this. For months, maybe years, you've been the rock, the one who checks in, the one who keeps the connection alive, the one who always shows up. And then one day, you don't. No texts, no calls. You're not chasing them anymore. You're chasing your purpose. You're hitting the gym. You're focused on your career. You're surrounding yourself with people who uplift you instead of drain you. And what happens? They panic. They thought they had you on standby. Now you're becoming someone they barely recognize. That's the shock factor. People fear change, especially when it's coming from someone they underestimated. Suddenly they're asking themselves, wait, did I misjudge them? Did I take them for granted? That curiosity becomes obsession because now the version of you they once ignored has evolved into someone they don't have access to. And that's when they start chasing. But let's be crystal clear here. You're not growing to win them back. You're not transforming to prove anything. You're doing it for you because true personal growth isn't about revenge. It's about self-respect. And the more you rise, the more your transformation speaks for itself. So after the shock of your growth hits them, what happens next? They start watching, quietly, subtly, silently. It's human nature. When someone who once took you for granted sees you rising, they can't help but pay attention. They lurk on your socials. They ask mutual friends. They scan for signs, trying to understand what changed, when it changed, and more importantly, how they missed it. They see your glow up, your focus, your peace. And in that moment, something clicks. They lost something they never thought they would. But here's the twist. By the time they notice, you're already gone. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You're no longer anchored to their approval. You're thriving. Here's what you do next. Pick one area of your life, just one, and pour yourself into it. Whether it's your body, your business, your art, or your healing, make that your new center of gravity. Not to prove them wrong, not to show off, but because you deserve a life that's deeply yours. And the more consistent you are in that journey, the louder your progress speaks. It won't be long before they see it. And when they do, they won't be able to ignore it. But here's the beautiful part. You won't care if they do, because your gaze will be forward, not behind. Reason 2, the magnetic pull of self-sufficiency. Let's talk about something most people overlook, self-sufficiency. In a world obsessed with likes, attention, and constant reassurance, being self-sufficient is discovering a hidden superpower. Superpower. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's undeniably attractive. You see, most people are out here searching, looking for someone to complete them, validate them, remind them they matter. But when you become the kind of person who doesn't need that, who wakes up feeling whole with or without applause, you become magnetic. Because in a world full of seekers, you are the one who stands grounded. And that stillness, that quiet confidence is impossible to ignore. Now let's be clear. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean building walls or pretending you don't care. It means knowing who you are and not needing someone else to confirm it. It's realizing that your peace, your confidence, and your joy come from within, not from someone else's texts, attention, or approval. And once you reach that point, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not chasing love, you're attracting it. You're not begging to be seen, you're too busy building. You're not waiting for validation, you've already given it to yourself. And here's the part that flips the dynamic. They notice. They start to ask themselves, how are they so okay without me? Why don't they need me like they used to? What changed? And that's when the power dynamic reverses. Where once you were chasing, now you're choosing. Where once they felt needed, now they feel left behind. But remember, this isn't about revenge. It's not a game. It's about boundaries. Healthy, powerful, self-honoring boundaries. When your happiness is no longer something they control, it creates a space they suddenly want to be part of. Because the person you've become, the one who's grounded, glowing, and unbothered, is rare. And we're all drawn to rarity. Think about it. When you were always available, always reaching out, always trying to hold things together, you were handing over your power without realizing it. You were unknowingly saying, I need you to feel okay about myself. But now, you flip the script. You don't need them to feel whole. You don't need their call to sleep well at night. You don't need their praise to know you're enough. And that is what draws them in. Because when someone sees you standing tall, emotionally independent, and no longer chasing their attention, they feel the absence, not just of you, but of the version of you they could once control. Here's the real breakthrough. Self-sufficiency teaches you how to guard your energy. You stop handing it to people who haven't earned it. You set boundaries, not out of fear, but out of clarity. And you stop feeling guilty for walking away from people who made you question your worth. Because now you've found it for yourself. And this is only the beginning. In the next part, we'll explore something even deeper, the silent shift in power that happens the moment you stop reacting. Get ready. Reason 3 is where things really start to turn. So as you continue embracing your self-sufficiency, something powerful happens. You stop giving people easy access to you. Not out of bitterness, not to punish anyone, but because you finally realized your worth. And the moment you stop being constantly available, people start to take notice. Suddenly, your time, your energy, and your presence, things they once took for granted, now feel rare. And what's rare becomes valuable. Think about it. When you're always there, always the one reaching out, always the one saying yes, your presence starts to feel expected. It becomes routine. People start assuming you'll always be around, always checking in, always waiting. But the second you shift, when you pull back, when you stop showing up so easily, it jolts them. It forces them to stop and ask themselves, wait, where did they go? What changed? They begin to reevaluate everything. They realize just how much of your energy they were receiving, how often they relied on your kindness, your support, your consistency, and now that it's gone, they crave it. But this time, their desire isn't rooted in control, it's rooted in respect, because they finally see you for what you are, someone who knows how to stand alone and thrive while doing it. And that is deeply attractive. Now, let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Self-sufficiency isn't about isolation. It's not about cutting people off or pretending you don't care. It's about strength. It's about choosing to value connection, not depend on it. It's about knowing that while you enjoy good company, your self-worth isn't built on someone else's presence. Imagine walking into a room by yourself, not needing to impress anyone, not looking for validation, just being you. That kind of quiet confidence, it's rare. And when others feel it, they can't help but be drawn in. So, how do you build that kind of inner strength? You start small. Take yourself out, solo, go to that dinner, take that hike, spend an afternoon doing something purely for your own joy. Learn to sit with your own thoughts and still feel peace. Because the more comfortable you become in your own skin, the less you'll find yourself chasing people to fill a void. And here's the beautiful bonus. When others see you thriving on your own, when they witness your ability to create joy and fulfillment without them, they feel it. That energy, that self-created happiness, that wholeness. It's magnetic. They start craving a place in your life again, not because you need them, but because you don't. And nothing is more attractive than a person who can stand strong without needing anyone to hold them up. When you reach that point, when your fulfillment, your confidence, and your peace no longer hinge on another person's attention, you've moved from survival to thriving. You've become someone who doesn't just attract attention, you command it. Reason 3, the envy of your newfound confidence. Confidence. It's one of those things that turns heads, especially when it comes from someone they never expected it from. When someone has grown used to seeing you unsure of yourself, always second-guessing, always seeking their opinion, your newfound confidence hits them like a thunderclap. It disrupts the old dynamic. It flips the script. Suddenly, they're not sure where they stand anymore. Imagine this. For the longest time, you've been the one hesitating. You overthink. You seek their approval. You ask before you act. Your self-image built around their opinion of you. But then something shifts. You step back. You start investing in yourself. You stop asking and you start deciding. You start trusting your own voice more than theirs. Slowly, your confidence builds. And here's the thing about confidence. It's contagious, but also intimidating. When someone who once overlooked you now sees you standing tall, head held high, clear about who you are, it shines a spotlight on something they might not be ready to face, their own insecurity. Your growth becomes a mirror. It makes them question why they never saw this strength in you, and more painfully, why they don't see it in themselves. That's where the envy creeps in. Not necessarily toxic, not always malicious, but envy nonetheless. They wish they had your calm self-assurance. They wish they could walk into a room without needing everyone's approval. They wish they had what you now exude naturally. They look at you and wonder, how did I miss this? Where did this version of them come from? You're no longer the person who needed constant reassurance. You're no longer the one who waited for permission to move. You've become someone who knows their worth and lives like it. And that's powerful. But it also challenges the dynamic, because here's what happens when someone has felt above you, whether in a relationship, a friendship, or even professionally. They get used to being the one you look up to. They like being the one whose approval you chase. It gives them a sense of control, a sense of comfort. But once you no longer need that approval, once you start moving forward without asking first, it shakes them. That's when the power dynamic breaks. They can no longer treat you like someone waiting to be chosen. Now, your confidence demands respect. It shifts how they interact with you. And for many, it forces them to confront just how deeply they underestimated you. But here's the part that matters most. Your confidence, it's not about them. It's about you. You no longer define yourself by someone else's praise or criticism. You're no longer shrinking to fit into spaces that never saw your value. You're standing tall, speaking clearly, and moving boldly. And when others see that, they can't help but stop and stare. Up next, we'll explore how your silence, yes, silence, becomes your greatest source of power. Stay with me. This shift is only just beginning. That kind of self-assured confidence, it's magnetic. People want to be near it. They want to feel it. They want to understand it. Because confidence, true confidence, is attractive in every sense of the word. But here's what most people don't realize. Confidence doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't require you to dominate conversations or take center stage. It's not about being the most vocal person in the room. Real confidence is quiet. It's calm. It's grounded. It's the ability to walk into any situation fully aware of your worth without needing anyone to say it out loud. It's not about proving anything. It's about knowing you don't have to. And that kind of inner peace, that kind of quiet power, it doesn't just change how others treat you, it transforms how you treat yourself. Confidence isn't about being flawless. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about owning your imperfections and still standing tall. It's trusting yourself enough to believe that even with your flaws, you are still enough. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You just need to be fully, unapologetically you. And when you begin showing up with that kind of energy, confident, grounded, whole, it changes everything. You're no longer chasing approval. You're no longer seeking validation because you've already given it to yourself. So, how does this make someone crave your attention? It's simple. We're all drawn to certainty, to presence, to people who know who they are. When they see you walking with your head held high, owning your space, making decisions without looking for their approval, it triggers something inside them. They begin to wonder, where did this come from? How did I miss this strength? Why didn't I see them like this before? That curiosity grows. It shifts into attraction. And attraction evolves into craving, not just for your attention, but for the peace and power you now carry. Here's where it gets even deeper. When you start radiating true confidence, it forces others to confront their own insecurities. They can no longer project their self-doubt onto you because you're not accepting it. You're no longer the person seeking definition from them. You're showing them exactly who you are without apology. And that self-possession, it creates stability. It creates a presence that people naturally want to be around. Because in a chaotic world, confidence is comfort, and people crave that. So start small. Practice confidence in tiny, daily decisions. Say no when something doesn't serve you without guilt. Speak up when you'd normally stay silent. Make choices that reflect your values, not someone else's expectations. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more the dynamic shifts in every relationship around you. Because confidence isn't about being the loudest voice. It's about knowing you belong in the room, even if you're the quietest. And when you truly begin to own your worth, when you stop letting others define it, you'll notice something incredible. The same people who once overlooked you will now find themselves drawn to the version of you they never saw coming. The confident, the self-assured, the unstoppable. Reason 4, the intrigue of unpredictability. Now let's talk about something people rarely understand, yet it's one of the most powerful dynamics in attraction: unpredictability. Most people don't realize just how magnetic it can be. You see, when someone can predict your every move, when they know exactly when you'll call, what you'll say, how you'll react, they stop paying attention. They get comfortable. They stop trying. They assume they've figured you out. And with that assumption, the effort fades. There's no excitement, no curiosity. And slowly, you begin to blend into the background of their mind. But when you become unpredictable, when you stop operating from routine and start living for yourself, everything changes. Now let's break it down. Think back to when you were always the first to reach out. You texted first. You made the plans. You showed up again and again. That kind of consistency, while well-meaning, eventually became routine. It required no effort from them. They didn't have to wonder because they knew exactly what to expect. But then you shift. You stop replying immediately. You're no longer the first to initiate. You start showing them, without words, that your world no longer revolves around them. You're living. You're busy, you're focused. And suddenly, they notice. They start to wonder, why haven't they texted? Why aren't they calling? What are they doing without me? That curiosity, it's powerful. It turns into a loop in their mind, replaying every time they feel your absence. And that's when you realize the truth. When your presence is no longer predictable, it becomes unforgettable. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into that shift and how your silence creates space for reflection and longing. Stay with me. It's about to get even more real. So, what happens when you stop being so available, so easy to read, so predictable? You become a mystery. And here's the truth: humans are wired to be curious. We're naturally drawn to puzzles, to stories with missing pieces, to people we can't quite figure out. When you embrace unpredictability, you turn yourself into a question they can't stop asking. They no longer know exactly what you're thinking. They can't guess what you're doing, where you've been, or why you've changed. And that uncertainty, that's what hooks them, because uncertainty breeds intrigue. Think about it. When someone knows your every move, when they can predict your every word or action, there's no excitement, no spark, no chase. But when you start behaving differently, when you stop responding instantly, stop showing up the same way, you shift something. You disrupt the pattern they've grown used to. And that disruption forces them to start watching you more closely. Suddenly they're wondering, why didn't they text back yet? Why haven't I heard from them? Are they seeing someone else? Are they just too busy enjoying their own life? Those questions, they plant seeds, and before long, those seeds grow into thoughts that loop again and again. That's when the power dynamic flips. They're no longer comfortable, they're curious, they're no longer secure, they're uncertain. And uncertainty, when paired with your confident silence, is a force they can't ignore. But let's be clear. Unpredictability isn't about manipulation. It's not a game. It's not about being cold or emotionally distant just to get a reaction. No, it's about living your life fully, prioritizing your needs, focusing on your own growth, your happiness, your future. The unpredictability they feel, it's just the natural byproduct of you no longer bending your world around theirs. You're not holding back attention to play hard to get. You're simply putting yourself first. And that in itself changes everything. Here's where it gets even more powerful. When you become less predictable, people start to assign more value to your presence because what's always available becomes expected. But what becomes rare becomes valuable. Let that sink in. If you've always been the one to initiate the call, send the text, make the plans, they start to see that as routine. They expect it. They stop appreciating it. But the moment you stop doing it, they feel it. They notice the shift. They realize your time, your effort, your energy, those weren't guaranteed. They were gifts. And now that those gifts aren't being handed out so freely, they feel the absence. They begin to think, what happened? Why are they not showing up like before? And more importantly, what do I have to do to earn their attention again? This is where the true power of unpredictability lies. When people feel they have to work for your presence, when they sense it's no longer guaranteed, they begin to value it more. They become more invested, more attentive, more present, because people chase what they can't easily have. And when you stop catering to their every expectation, they start wondering how to win you back. Now, let's make one thing clear. Unpredictability doesn't mean being flaky or disappearing without explanation. It's not about ghosting or playing with emotions. It's about balance. You're still present. You still show up, but you're no longer revolving your schedule, your peace, or your self-worth around someone else. You're not available at the snap of a finger. You're not pausing your life to respond immediately. You're living purposefully, powerfully, and on your own terms. Want to start small? Break one routine. If you always text first, pause. Let them reach out. If you're always free at the same time, fill that space with something that brings you joy. Go for a walk, dive into your goals, meet with people who energize you. Let them notice your absence. Let them feel the shift in your availability. Because when your energy becomes less predictable, it becomes unforgettable. And unpredictability, it creates a beautiful kind of tension, one that keeps you in their mind, even when you're nowhere near. In the next part, we'll explore a powerful truth about silence. How not saying anything at all can say everything they need to hear. The less they can predict you, the more they begin to crave you. There's something irresistible about not knowing what's next. When your presence no longer feels like a given, it becomes something they long for. You're no longer someone they can read like a book. You've become a story they can't stop rereading, trying to find the parts they missed, and that's when it hits them. Reason 5, the realization of what they've lost. This part is hard, but it's one of the most brutally honest truths in life. People don't always appreciate what they have and it's gone. It's not necessarily because they didn't care. It's because they got comfortable. They became used to your presence, your loyalty, your time, your energy. You were always there, always showing up, always giving. And they stopped noticing. But the moment you step back, when you're no longer that reliable, constant source of support, it shakes something in them. It creates a silence they weren't ready for, a gap in their routine, a space where you used to be. At first, they might not even flinch. They may brush it off with a casual, "They're just busy. I'm sure they'll text soon. They always come back," because they've been conditioned to believe you always will. But then days pass. The silence stretches, and slowly, the comfort they once had starts to feel cold. Something shifts. They begin to notice what's missing: the check-in texts, the thoughtful conversations, the emotional safety you always offered without asking for anything in return, the laughter, the warmth, the consistency. Now it's gone. And with that absence comes a deepening realization: they've lost something real. Here's the thing. When someone is used to you always being there, they begin to see your effort as ordinary. Not because it was ordinary, but because it was consistent, dependable, familiar. But the moment that effort stops, the moment you take your energy elsewhere, it highlights just how much you were giving and how little they were acknowledging. And that kind of realization, it stings. They begin replaying memories in their head, moments they took for granted, the way you used to listen, the way you always found time for them, the comfort of knowing you'd be there when no one else was. Now, every memory feels heavier, tinged with regret. They start asking themselves the tough questions. Why didn't I appreciate them more? How did I not see how much they were doing for me? Why did I assume they'd always be there? And here's where it hits hardest. The emotional weight of regret doesn't fade quickly. It lingers. Because regret is a powerful teacher. It forces people to sit with the consequences of their inaction. It makes them realize that they let something valuable slip through their fingers. Not because you vanished overnight, but because they stopped valuing what was always right in front of them. And now they're on the outside, looking in, watching as you move forward without them. But here's what's important. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't pull back to manipulate. You didn't distance yourself to punish. You simply made a decision to stop pouring your heart into a space that couldn't hold it, to choose yourself, to protect your peace, to honor your worth. And by doing that, you gave them the greatest gift of all, perspective. You gave them room to see the truth, to sit with the silence, to realize the depth of what they had, only now that it's no longer in arm's reach. And that realization, that deep, uncomfortable, undeniable awareness of what they lost, that's what makes them crave your presence in a way they never did before. But the choice to return, that's no longer yours to chase. Up next, we'll explore the quiet, underrated power of your silence and how it speaks volumes without saying a single word. After pulling back and creating that space, you're no longer just a familiar comfort. They start to see you as someone whose presence was never guaranteed. And now that you're gone, they realize it was a privilege, not a promise. Your time, your energy, your love, these aren't things to be handed out freely to someone who can't fully appreciate them. They are valuable. And when you take them back, you send a message louder than any words. I know my worth, and if you can't see it, then you don't deserve it. That quiet act of self-respect, it's more powerful than any argument, any explanation, any plea for recognition. It's often only after someone experiences your absence that they truly begin to understand what they had. They start looking back, comparing how they felt with you to how they feel now, and suddenly the silence feels heavy. The moments you brought into their life, the laughter, the care, the emotional grounding, all start replaying in their mind like scenes from a movie they didn't realize they'd miss. And the contrast becomes undeniable. They begin to crave what they used to overlook. The little texts that brightened their day, the way you listened when no one else did, the presence you brought into a room without saying a word. But here's the thing. They can't just come back and expect things to pick up where they left off. You're not here to hand out second chances like spare change. If they truly want to be part of your life again, they have to show up differently. Let them sit with that discomfort. Let them feel the weight of what they let slip away, because that's when the lesson lands. Deep, undeniable, and real. And if they do come back, it must be with a new level of respect and understanding. But if they don't, you've already won. You've chosen yourself. You've protected your energy. You've decided not to give your heart to someone who doesn't recognize its value. That's not selfish, that's strength. And this is the core of your power. You didn't pull away to manipulate, you pulled away to reclaim. And by doing that, you gave them the space to finally see your worth with clear eyes. So what happens next? Well, when people see you growing, thriving, and moving forward without them, something shifts. They start to wonder if they still have a place in your life, or if you've already outgrown them. Let's dive into that in reason 6, the desire to be part of your new journey. They used to take you for granted. But now, seeing you evolve, watching your life move forward without hesitation, without them, they begin to feel something they didn't expect: urgency, an unshakable desire to be part of your new journey. Why? Because they realize you're no longer standing still. You're growing, changing, rising. And whether they admit it or not, they see that you're heading somewhere bigger, bolder, and far beyond the version of yourself they once knew. But here's where it gets real. They can't just come waltzing back in like nothing's changed. They feel it in their gut. If they want a place in your world now, they'll have to earn it. No more shortcuts, no more one-sided effort. No more you doing all the emotional lifting, because you've outgrown that version of yourself. You've raised your standards, and they know it. The dynamic has shifted. They no longer have the upper hand. If they want to return, they'll need to meet you where you are, not where they left you. They'll have to grow too. They'll have to prove that they deserve a place beside this new, evolving version of you. And that realization hits hard. It's a mirror moment, the kind that forces people to reflect. They begin asking themselves, why didn't I notice this transformation before? How did I let them slip away? What am I doing with my own life? It sparks a wave of self-awareness, sometimes even envy. While you're out there pursuing new passions, building your dreams, and surrounding yourself with people who see your value, they start to fear they've been left behind. And even worse, they worry that someone else will come along and appreciate the version of you they were too blind to recognize. But the truth? You're not doing any of this to make anyone feel left out. You're not living your life as a performance. You're living it for you, authentically, boldly, unapologetically. You've stopped waiting. You've stopped shrinking. And that's exactly what makes people want to return. Not out of pity, but because they now see the fire in you that they ignored for too long. Still, there's a catch. They now understand. Re-entry requires effort. They can't coast back in on old comfort and expect things to be the same. The people who are truly meant for your journey will rise to meet the new you. They'll support your growth, not stall it. They won't just want to be near you, they'll want to walk beside you. And those who don't, they'll naturally fall away. And that's not rejection, that's alignment. So keep growing, keep building, and start that passion project, pick up that hobby, pursue what lights your soul on fire, because when your life becomes about you, not proving anything to anyone, that's when everything changes. That's when the right people come closer and the wrong ones fade out. And now, something even deeper begins to stir. Let's talk about the most primal emotion of all, the one that makes people act fast when they feel they're losing something valuable. Reason 7, the fear of losing you to someone else. Think about it. When someone sees you thriving without them, their initial reaction might be indifference. They assume it's just a phase. They'll come back like they always do. But as time passes, they start to realize something much deeper. You're not just pulling away. You're evolving. You're changing. You're becoming a stronger, more confident version of yourself. And then a sobering truth begins to dawn on them. Someone else might notice what they ignored. Someone else might recognize the incredible person you're becoming. And they may never get another chance. Let's be honest. No one likes to admit it, but the idea of being replaced is one of the most powerful fears we can feel, especially when they see you happier, more independent, more self-assured than ever before. They start asking themselves, what if someone new steps into their life and appreciates them from the start? What if they give them the love and value I never did? And just that thought alone sparks anxiety, panic, and deep regret. That fear, it doesn't go away overnight. It lingers, it haunts, it makes them think of you constantly. They begin comparing themselves to this imaginary person who could walk into your life, someone who offers you all the things they failed to give. And that comparison eats at them slowly and relentlessly. But here's the truth. This fear isn't just about jealousy. It's a wake-up call. It's the realization that they no longer have a guaranteed place in your life. They can't take you for granted anymore because now they know if they don't step up, if they don't truly change, someone else will. And that possibility terrifies them into action. This fear forces them to confront themselves. They start asking the hard questions. Why didn't I appreciate them more? Why did I let them slip away? What do I need to change if I want another chance? And often that fear becomes a powerful catalyst for real growth. But let's be clear. You didn't walk away to make them afraid. You didn't go silent to make them jealous. You did it because you chose you, your growth, your happiness, your peace. If they now fear losing you, that's simply a natural consequence of them finally recognizing your value. They took you for granted, and now seeing you strong, fulfilled, and radiant, they can't look away without feeling a sting of regret. But here's the most important truth. You don't need them to come back, because by choosing yourself, by growing through the distance, you've already won. Whether they return or not, you've become smarter, stronger, and more empowered than ever before. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below and tell me your story. Have you given someone space to realize your worth? Have they come back after realizing what they lost? I'd love to hear your journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you for watching.